All right. I think we can honor everyone's time and go ahead and get started. So welcome to the August 25th edition of the KubeVirt SIG storage call. And we will jump into our first agenda item. So Felix.
Yeah, hi guys. I created this web here to allow virtual machine templates to exist in also in Kubernetes clusters, so as a native object. And there is one part in this proposal here, which is the feature to create new templates from existing virtual machines in cluster. And for that, we have something called virtual machine template request. And for that feature to work, I intended to make use of snapshots and data volumes. Basically, I wanted to know from you guys if that what I've written there sounds right, if there's any, like, if you see any issues with it or any issues in general with this web. So yeah, just wanted to get approval from SIG Storage here for this design.
Okay, so I've found the template request. So maybe you can, I think there's definitely going to be a follow-on action item for folks to review this if they haven't in detail. I see Michael was there already, but if there's any maybe key issues that you wanted to discuss here, that would probably be a good way to get some immediate feedback. But what I would say is, at first thought of the idea, I think it's a great idea that you're using data volumes and sort of offloading the logic of how to actually clone um, a volume to CDI. I wish that we would also do the same thing with VM clone, to be honest, because some storage provisioners prefer CSI clone over a CSI snapshot when it comes to duplicating volumes. And so it's there may be needed a host assisted clone, for example. So to be able to let CDI figure that out it seems like a good idea.
Yeah, the basic idea was to create a snapshot first, and then clone that snapshot with the data volumes. That's still in line with what you could just describe.
Well, I would say why not just use a clone, data volume. It depends if you're trying to if you're trying to allow like a live running VM to be created into a template, or it has to be powered off. In which case a snapshot's like, if it needs to be running, then a snapshot is probably going to make more sense. But also I think if you're, for me, the workflow without having read the VEP is you're basically trying to seal an existing VM as a template. And the standard practice for that is that you would probably want to run virtsys prep on it and shut it down. And then from there, clone the volume rather than like giving everybody a crash, crash consistent template to boot from. So um, in that case, I would think that you should just treat it as a logical clone from CDI's perspective and let us figure out which mechanism in the cluster we want to use to replicate it. But I'm curious to hear what others on the call think.
I'm wondering if this would benefit from the data import cron flow. Maybe there's a new feature, or not so new, maybe 2 versions ago, where you could specify you could specify a data import cron DV that clones an existing PVC. Would that help in this flow? Like in the end of the day, it will give you a snapshot. It's just that you don't have to take the snapshot yourself. It's CDI orchestrating stuff for you. And on a provisioner that doesn't do snapshots or prefers to not do snapshots, it will just use a PVC instead. So you get a little bit of the encapsulated provisioner knowledge by doing that.
So
Sounds like it would make sense here. The only constraint or requirement I have is that it should work cross namespace. That would be possible.
So the only thing, so I'm concerned a little bit about the data import cron workflow is more about having something in the cluster that you can provision from multiple times, right, Alex? So like it creates a data source that does it actually I forget exactly how that works. We have Arnon here who wrote it, but I think this use case was more like, okay, I'm gonna leave this volume around and then people are gonna clone a bunch. I don't know. Are we trying to do one clone here or multiple clones over the course of a period of time? Because I think the data import cron flow makes more sense when you're going to keep that data import cron in the cluster and then clone from it to provision VMs in the future. But it sounds to me like you're actually you kind of want the snapshot or the possibly the PVC object lying around that you would. I don't know if the distinction is that critical here, but there was one. There are certain provisioners that if you're doing a one-off clone, there's a better way to do it than if you're doing many clones, for example. And this is one of the reasons that we put this data import cron logic in there, is because it allows us to make that distinction. Sorry, I'm not speaking too clearly as the coffee starts to soak in, but yeah, I mean, there's two approaches. You could just use a standard DV clone, or you could use the data import cron with a PVC source.
I think it should be a one-off clone, or for every template request, there should be just a single clone. So I'm not sure about the import cron, but maybe some one of you can look at the sequence diagram or the description, make a comment there.
Yeah, Arnon, you're the feature owner for the clone source data import cron. Do you have any thoughts on it?
Actually, I just joined a few minutes ago. Are we talking about a single instance, a single? We're not using the usual, the common flow data clone when we have many clones. That's the issue.
You're pretty quiet, Arnon. I think I generally heard you. You kind of repeated my question. It sounds like.
Can you hear?
It's very very over. Let's see. Now you're quiet. Now you're quiet. So
And
there was
now?
a. Yeah, it sounded like we were getting rolled over by a tank for a second there, but now it's quiet.
Okay, let me try again. Is it a case where Felix needs want to use a single clone of the data source of the image?
Yeah, so it should be single clone, but maybe another special requirement is that I'm not sure of how many volumes there will be. So I will clone, or I wanted to clone or snapshot a virtual machine, and maybe it could have one or more PVC. So I don't know in advance how many I should clone, or maybe I know in advance when I look at the virtual machine, but it could be more than one PVC, but it will be one time operation for every request.
Mm-hmm.
I have a. Yeah, go ahead.
Go ahead. I was just going to say then, how do you expect so this will create a template object somewhere that you would then be able to use to provision further VMs from. So you have basically one clone of the volumes, some sort of VM spec there, and then there's going to be a flow that I can create another VM from this object. So at that point, then you would have presumably like you could create a your own rel 9 template, for example, or something like this, and then your whole organization could use it. So you may have 100 clones from that.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
And it should use data volume templates, or that was the idea, to rewrite the original VM spec to use data volume templates to clone the cloned PVCs again, or the cloned disks again, volumes.
So it almost sounds, Arnon, like almost embodying the use case that we originally wrote the PVC data source from. When you create a data import cron with a PVC source, what is it doing behind the scenes? Is it creating a snapshot, or is it creating a clone? I guess it may do one or the other, and then the data source encapsulates the logic about whether it's a snapshot source or a PVC source for the future clones, right? That's exactly what we're...
Exactly like the case of usual data import cron.
Mm-hmm.
And when the PVC changes, the UID changes, for example, you update the source one, you'll get the data source updated accordingly, because it will create another snapshot of PVC.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so that's like a key feature, Felix, for the data import cron flow, is that if that source PVC that you originally cloned the VM from changes, then we would actually update the data source associated with the data import cron to reflect the new one. That's probably actually not what you want for a template. A template is you create it once and then it's an independent object from the source VM, because you may delete that source VM, or you might completely change it.
Right. Yeah, it shouldn't change after.
Okay.
Maybe in the future you will care about changing it, like I don't know if
Version
you will have
templates.
Yeah. So maybe today you don't care, but in the future it might be useful.
Yeah.
But I think the key here is that we have logic to accommodate certain provisioners, because this is kind of a tricky space when it comes to whether you should use a snapshot or a straight up clone or host assisted. And that is because, yeah, different provisioners have limits on the number of snapshots that you can have, and will store the volume more efficiently depending on the use case, based on whether you did a CSI clone or a CSI snapshot. So we have storage profile logic for different provisioners that expresses this, and it's not something you want to worry about in KubeVirt, because we want to have all that logic concentrated in one place. We were working with an software integrator that was looking at doing a similar kind of templated VM flow. And I can connect you with some of that context later, Felix. So they didn't want to have to know this information either about how to create it properly. So you definitely do not want to do a snapshot yourself. You'll run into problems. You want to let CDI take care of the clone for you.
Yeah, like for example, a big provider that discourages this golden snapshot behavior is Trident, and it's like one of the biggest. So if you start creating snapshots on that, and like a lot of the cluster tenants start using your template, it's just not going to scale well on Trident, and we'll get we have the battle scars to show it. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, that's very helpful insight. I didn't think of this before. Yeah. If you could comment on it in the web, and I'm happy to change it. Unfortunately, it was already merged before you could approve it, guys. But yeah, I'll be happy for any comments, any feedback on the web.
Yeah, I'm glad that you brought it here because yeah, we've as Alex says, we've got the battle scars here, and anytime you're doing a CSI operation, you got to be careful and know your provisioner. Cool. Okay, so I think the follow-up here is, I think we definitely want our non-Alex at a minimum, but probably most of us here should take a look at this and make sure that it makes sense to help Felix out so we get it right the first time. All right, anything else on this topic?
Not from my side. So thank you,
Okay.
guys.
All right, great. Thanks for bringing it. Let's move on to the next item. We have SIG storage upstream CI health.
Cool. Right. So I wanted to bring up our CI health today, and just I did a little bit digging to find the offending tests that caused this state.
Mhm.
So you can't really see it, but SIG storage is trending at 7 point something% failure. That's out of like healthy hashes, so hashes that are got merged. So what I saw in the filter, and I outlined here the process. It's I used the flake finder, and in the flake finder, I pick an entry, for example, today's entry, and there I just filter by SIG storage. That's how I look for the offending test cases. And the reason I'm bringing it up because I didn't find like a single offender. Well, I did find a single offender. If you can type in like SIG storage in the first filter box there, it's a little
I don't
bit.
even.
Yeah, it's where you see this title top most recent flaky tests. Yeah, so if you can filter by SIG storage on the first, yeah, exactly. So there is this one offender you can see, and it's already quarantined for a long time. So that's not what's bringing us to this pass rate. It must be a combination of the others all
I see
having
some
one. Yeah.
VMI migrations.
Yeah. So second trend is that table test VMI migration with hot plug, and it has two permutations: persistent disk and hot plug, and container disk. So I mean it's not remotely close to being eligible for quarantine, but in the interest of increasing the odds, I think it makes sense to quarantine that too. But the real surprise here is that there is no one specific test that's in charge of this failure rate. So there's not an obvious one to quarantine.
Do we think this could be just like an environment error, like or environment issue with the CI where like the storage is sometimes slow in certain operations and causes a timeout? Like,
Could be, and it also could be that the release branches are acting up and they're messing up the statistic. That's probably intended, but I think it's okay to say we care a little bit more about main than we care about like release 1.4, for example.
yeah, you got to start with main
Yeah.
and work your way back. Yep.
So like one action item I could think of is putting that tabled hot plug live migration test to quarantine, but I'm not sure it'll solve the issue completely because there's these others. But it will definitely help. Like that's my suggestion. We put that one to quarantine, and the others, I mean, yeah.
I mean, this one only has, I guess it has 2 failures and all the other ones have 1. So, I mean, it's at the top of the list, but what makes it more important? Like, oh, here's a different, here's a volume update migration. So like a storage live migration one for block to file system has 2 failures. Like, I don't know why are the ones at the top of the list more important, even though they all have the same number of failures. These
Maybe
have
it has
2.
to, maybe it has to do with the date it last occurred.
Mhm.
I'm not sure.
But if we made no changes, like these are all probably statistically equally likely to flake again. Maybe.
Yeah.
I don't, we have a bunch
Yeah, I don't
from,
think that one seems exceptional to me. And I think that there are like rules for when to quarantine, and I don't think we should quarantine unless we hit the whatever the rule is for it.
Mhm.
Because especially considering that we don't have like, I don't know how you guys are managing these quarantine tests, but you know, they just unless, you know, if we're going to start quarantining more and more stuff, we should have more and more focus on it, like dedicated people fixing this stuff. And I think it just seems kind of ad hoc. Like I have one quarantine test that I've been playing with for weeks, and it's, you know, I think it should just be more formalized.
Yeah,
So
I mean,
like,
I think. Sorry,
yeah,
go
just
ahead,
that we have like, I think we have like, Daniel, we have formal thresholds for quarantining stuff, and but we should also have formalized process for unquarantining them.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I definitely agree with that, because otherwise it stops becoming a squeaky wheel, and so then you move on to other stuff and you forget that now suddenly we're not testing this anymore. So while it's quarantined, it needs to be on someone's plate and know that they're actively taking care of it. So I think what we need is, it reminds me of the adopt a highway signs. Like, we need somebody to adopt a test and look into it. And it'd be awesome if there was one smoking gun that covered all of these, like, oh, because of the way that we do, you know, waiting for a volume to bind, it's but that's not the problem here, most likely. So I think each of these are probably going to be special in their own right, is my thinking. So once you've adopted a test, what does it look like to care for it? I guess you're running it locally, the exact same test locally, and trying to reproduce the flake locally, which can be pretty difficult to do. I suppose it's why they're broken in the first place, because if people were finding it blocking their actual development locally, they would be fixing it.
Yeah, I don't think there's a formal unquarantined process. Like I've approved PRs that just take one out based on like the logic making sense to me.
Yeah. Like, I mean,
So like in the interest of, you know, having it run again, exercised, giving us feedback.
we have a lane, right, that runs all the quarantine tests, so they're grouped together. Is that right? To see if they're like starting to not flake anymore.
So there's a de-quarantine test lane that will run the same way as the test flakes when you create a new PR and you add a test. You know, it sort of isolates that one test and runs it like 5 times, I believe, is the default for the flakes test. And this de-quarantine lane runs it 500 times.
Mm-hmm.
And apparently we have a goal of having a 0 0.1% failure rate, so 1 in 1,000. So technically you have to pass that lane twice. And depending on how long it takes your test to run, it can take a significant amount of time.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Okay, so I think that, I mean, I think what it sounds like to me is we need some folks to step up and adopt tests, and like this is a community call, but if you work for me, I can help you manage your adoption of a test with a Jira issue that can be, you know, tracked and kept in your work plan so that that you don't forget about it. If you don't work for me, then you have to manage that, I guess, yourself in whatever way. But I think it would be good to have some folks that agree to adopt a few of these tests, and let's see what we can do to figure out why they're flaking. I guess you can look at, I'm assuming that with this, you can look at a test and like, where would I click to see the details on this first test? This is the failure. I guess this is the job. It failed in both of these two lanes. So I'm guessing if
I
I
think
click
you click
this,
on the number itself. So the 1 and the 2, yeah. Those are not linked.
no, I'm wondering if it's the lane here. Okay, so this gives us a, ooh,
Yeah, I thought so too. Like it was counterintuitive for me.
so
I
this is
don't think
hot
there's
plug
a
VMI
way.
migration should allow live migration with attached with a persistent disk. So let's click. Okay, and then here's our, okay, so the hot plug disk status didn't become ready and it timed out after, wow, okay, like an hour, is that? Yeah,
That's 6 minutes.
6 minutes, okay, right. Okay, so, right, so this one, I don't know, I guess, do we have other materials that come along with this, like like cluster, like a resource dump for the job, I guess, so, oh, artifacts, yeah.
Yeah, and artifacts, you have an overview artifact. You go to 3. That's the
Okay.
node.
Okay, so there's a bunch of stuff we can look at. Hopefully see what might have been going on for this. Okay, so I think what I would like to do is at least ask some of my folks to choose a test to adopt and be able to take a look at it and see if we can make a little progress. I think that's the only way that this is going to get better is if folks like pick one up and tackle it. So I'm going to ask, I can ask my people to do that. So let me know which test you're going to adopt, create a Jira issue for it, and then let's see if we can spend a little time to make a few of these go away. Yeah, unfortunately, it's not like we have one that's flaking most of the time that we can, like, you know, make this better. So all right, does that cover? I mean, I think that's about as good as we could do here on the call, like raising awareness. Thanks for looking into it, Alex, and providing some links for ways that we can dig in further to actually get to where some work is needed.
Yeah, Michael just commented he's working on that offending one, but that's quarantine, so
Mm-hmm.
that one is a smoking gun, but it's not part of the statistic, just to
Yeah.
highlight it.
And I would say that if you adopt one of these, we can decide if it makes sense to quarantine it. But like Michael says, like if it's Like if it's only flaking once in a while, like it's bad that we're contributing to this, uh, situation where it's harder to merge PRs into KubeVirt, but hopefully if we put some focus on it, we can fix it before it gets worse. Because it is, once it's quarantined, as Alexander says, it's pretty difficult to get it back out. You got to run that really long running lane. So okay. All right. So let's move on to the next topic. Michael.
Yeah, I actually have to drop pretty soon, but I just if you click on that link, I created a pull request to nominate Alex to co-SIG storage chair. Take a look, LGTM, if you think it's appropriate. I think he would be, he's been doing a great job helping us up to this point, and yeah.
Nice. I definitely support this. I'll mark my comment in the PR as well. And it would be great to get some more LGTMs for those of you who agree, but I definitely agree that this makes sense. Cool. Thanks for creating the PR. Good luck, Alex. Not that I don't think you'll need it.
Yeah, he's got plenty of free time.
Yeah.
Okay,
All
I
right.
gotta go. See you guys.
Okay, thanks. Thanks, Michael.
Yeah.
All right, Alex, next topic, CDI bump review.
Yeah, I just wanted to ask for some help in getting that merged. So it's what I did is I'm taking the bump commit from the bot and I'm adding a commit on top that has to go in together with that. So you can take a look at that commit and basically just asking for a review. And it's the KubeVirt CI bump isn't going to go in until this PR merges, so it's a little bit more time sensitive.
Okay. Yep. Makes sense. Yeah, this is a much better, the testing for an exact size is, we know, pretty difficult. Okay, sounds good. So folks, if you please help review that so that we can move on with the CDI bump. Okay, and then, so I'm wondering, I see for next time review storage VEPs, but the VEP freeze is pretty soon, so I don't know if this is not, I don't think this is for next time, I think this is for this time. So should we be doing that?
Yeah, I think last time we didn't have the link to this thing. So.
Okay. So we have VirtIO FSD, it's tracked.
Yeah, I'm looking at that, so I'm engaged there, and
Okay.
I can share some thoughts on it. It's so VirtIO FSD needs to move to the handler to be a little bit more privileged.
Mm-hmm.
That's to support features that support. So we have this stack that we support, right? Live migration, storage migration, I think is a part of it. I'm not sure. can remember which feature exactly this is for, but VirtIO FSD needs to become more privileged to accommodate all of that. So it's a little bit counterintuitive that it was already unprivileged at one point and GA, and now it has a web to go back to being more privileged. So the natural worrying point is, like CVEs, or I remember a long time ago there was like somebody was trying to create a framework for asking the virt handler to allow you for syscalls, but I think in this case it's a lot simpler. Just delegate the responsibility to VirtIO FSD. So yeah,
Okay.
it's a little counterintuitive in that it goes from not unprivileged NGA to being privileged, and I guess in alpha or beta.
Yeah, it's doing it for disks is requires a lot more for it to actually work than just for config maps and secrets.
As I understand it, it's required. Like there is no room for discussion about keeping it up privileged. Like it's physically impossible.
Yeah, we had a lot of discussions. I remember back in the early days about how you might achieve that, but you have to make some pretty crazy trade-offs in order for it to be unprivileged, and then like certain operations from within the VM like won't work. It's almost like having root squash or something like that on the on the files there, and it's not going to work very seamlessly. So I think the privileged approach is really required. And do we have this behind a toggle, so that like an API toggle, so that if you don't want the extra permissions, that you can have it turned off?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it is.
Okay, good. All right, let's so that one is in good hands. I think we probably have enough time to just make sure that things are in good hands and identify things that won't be covered because they're not making substantial progress. So let's move to 41, which is
Hold on. We should probably have somebody that sort of is shepherding this thing to at least get the vet merged.
I'm doing that for VirtIO FSD.
Yeah, I don't see any columns to actually do it. I guess it's in the assignees, so maybe just add the appropriate. You can.
Yeah, just watch out to not overwrite the original
you
author.
can't. It's actually this view doesn't allow you. It has to be done from the, I think, from the actual.
No, you just don't have the permissions.
Okay. All right. I'm happy with that.
Ask Vladek to get the permissions. I think you can do it.
I don't want them. It's okay. I'm not a chair, so
So I should just assign myself. I'm pretty sure if I assign myself, it just overrides the original one.
yeah, I don't know the proper process on that, but we do know that 53 is covered, at least here, because we've heard Alex say that, and I trust him. So in terms of how it should be tracked there, I don't know. Let's go to 41, or yeah, that 41, Alvaro.
Yeah, so for 41, I have a follow-up PR that is still not merged. It updates the web with some conditions to include the external dependencies. And I will need someone to help me a bit with getting it unblocked. Because the network team has been pretty adamant against this decision. So that's why I opened the follow-up. So if someone could take a look and maybe help me unblock it, I would
I
really
brought
appreciate it.
in the SIG compute meeting and tried to argue your case, and I was not successful. So they really want is external from Q4 core. And if we can still argue with them, if we think we're correct, we probably have to do a meeting, and just really argue our case. I did not do a very good job at it, so.
Then in that case, I would want them to comment on the PR, because in the PR I offer some arguments and some conditions to just include certain external dependencies under like several conditions that I think are like I think we have good arguments in that follow-up PR. And I couldn't attend the latest SIG compute because I had some meetings, conflicting meetings. But yeah, I will want them maybe to also comment on this follow-up PR and continue the discussion there. So yeah, thanks for letting me know. I will ping them there, and if they just want to do it in a meeting, okay, I'll create one.
Yeah, and I'd be happy to go there. I think it would make sense to have, like, I think that I remember from was it like the 1.5 unconference where Vladik, made the argument that it makes sense to have this in the KubeVirt repo, and that's the underpinnings of the original VEP and why it's there. So yeah, we should think about like the target audience of who needs to be there. And it shouldn't just be like network versus storage. It should probably include, compute folks as well that are relevant.
Yeah.
But I think that, I mean, if this gets held up, like it's important for us to get to the correct outcome on this, I think. And I would rather have it take longer if it needs to than to compromise on the wrong solution to get it done for 1.7. So like I still feel pretty strongly that it needs to be in KubeVirt, and we need to figure out what kind of references can be allowed there that are acceptable to everyone in order to keep it there, because removing it from KubeVirt kind of defeats the entire purpose of the VEP to begin with, if you ask me. So
yeah. So if someone wants to take a look at the follow-up PR, I will appreciate it. It's just adding like a couple of paragraphs to the original VEP with the condition for an external dependency to be included.
And if you'd like to ask, like I think it's Eddie that was leading the charge against it, if you want to ask him to comment on your comments or something, and if you want to do that on an email or on a KubeVirt dev thread, and include me, feel free.
Okay.
Okay, let's go to VEP 31. So Shelly. Oh wait, no, I'm sorry, this is Michael's, I think, isn't it? Yeah. Does anybody?
There's no major changes on that. We just get some experience with it basically. So it's merged, it's there, it's alpha, and this is just graduating to beta. So
Okay, who's doing the PR, because this doesn't have an assignee.
there is no PR.
Don't you need to like change the API spec somehow to make it beta, or is it just like?
There's no alpha API spec. It's just enabling the feature gate. So, but the feature
Okay,
gate is not gonna disappear until we go GA. So
okay, so there's no PRs needed at all. It's just tracked then, and basically we're just sort of marking it that in our minds it's now beta.
Right.
Okay. All right, we have stop VM with PM suspend to disk. I don't even know if I know about this one. And it has no assignee.
I saw, can you hear me?
Yep.
Ah, okay. Then I saw Michael commented on this web. So I took a quick look about it. It seems that the intention is basically doing hibernation but the user that opened it, the community member that opened it, didn't really have much information, not on the issue for the web and not in the web itself. But basically he mentioned that there is this libvirt command doing pm suspend or something like that, and he wants to do it. And Michael tagged me with regards to having the utility volumes might be using it to dump the memory output too. So yeah, if you will look at the web itself, it doesn't have much information there to like just mention the commands that libvirt has. I'm not sure how deep the member that opened it got into.
Yeah, so this like the VEP process isn't a feature request where
Yeah,
somebody
exactly.
can do a drive-by and request a feature and then we augment this. So like my feeling on this one is we haven't seen any updates from the reporter since it was originally created. So I don't think it can be tracked for 1.7.
Yeah, no, for sure. Even if the code will never get ready for 1.7. There's no progress on this really.
So, and it's not marked as tracked either. So why
Yeah.
is it, what qualifies this to get on here?
Yeah,
This,
interesting.
I mean, I guess it's just any VEP that's marked, but it's not tracked. So
Yeah.
I guess it'll roll to the next one and maybe eventually get closed if it doesn't get sponsorship. Okay,
Yeah.
let's move on. Thanks, Shelley, for that. So this is your CBT.
Yeah. I'm currently also working on the web for the utility volumes that I need also for 1.7. And yeah, all of it, working on it.
Okay, so what do you need to make VEP freeze? I guess you would need like the VEP to be, is this open or is it merged or?
This is already merged. It was
Yeah.
it was already tracked for 1.6 and then we delayed it for 1.7.
Okay, so when does this get closed, the VEP? Because it's merged, like, is it only closed after the code merges or is it closed after the VEP merges?
I don't know how
The
process
tracker, not the actual vet.
This is the issue for
Yeah.
the web. I think as long as it's being tracked, it's still open, right?
Once it goes GA, then it.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay. All right, fair enough. All right, so that one's good. And then VEP 16 use image volume to mount OCI images. And this is marked as tracked and it's owned by Barak.
Yeah, from what I know, I was kind of reviewing this one, and it's the same deal as what Shelley described. It's like, or Alexander mentioned it. It's like you have the feature in, but it still has to GA and all that stuff. So for that purpose, it's still open.
Okay, and we don't have any problems with this from the storage side?
No, I think he's tracking Kubernetes making GA, and then he'll follow, I think. Something like that. It's yeah.
This is the replacement for container disk, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, so I think we're in generally good shape with the review. I think if object graph seems like the only one that's at risk for 1.7 in terms of things that we need. But we have the follow-up items for that to try to close on the discussion. And other than that, I think the rest of this looks fine. So any other comments on VEPs? Okay, all right. So we've now gone past the time, so I'm going to propose, let's see, does anybody need this PR talked about quickly? Who brought this?
Yeah, so this is raised by my teammate, so as he is only one. I just want to bring this to community's notice if someone can look into this. It's been a while. This is raised, and recently he was following up on dev, Qbert dev. Yeah, just thought to give some attention to this. Yeah.
Okay, anybody have anything to update on this? It looks like we're waiting on a bunch of test lanes.
No, both 31 and 32 lanes don't run until the PR gets the X. So it runs I think the 33 lanes. If you scroll down, there's a bunch of 33 lanes that have already completed it.
Yep.
It does it runs a subset, and then once you get the X, it runs the rest, the other lanes, just to save some CI capacity.
All right, makes sense. So does anybody here have an issue with it?
I don't have an issue with it. I just want to note that when I added the decentralized live migration, some of the tests, I used zeros there because Alpine didn't have the PPM and the commands that I needed to run. So I think I actually sort of countered this particular thing by adding the new zeros. I don't know if this has already been fixed in this PR or not. I haven't looked at it, but I just wanted to know it.
Okay, and yeah, this is not replacing all the Cirrus instances yet, because yeah, some of the tools in Cirrus are missing in Alpine. So later, we need to find the equivalents like Alpine test tooling or some other images. But yeah, this is only the working ones, whichever are working, replacing a Cirrus with Alpine. Only those tests are changed here. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So yeah, if we can help help this one and whatever it needs, that would be great.
Yeah, can you assign it to me? I'll take a look at it.
Yeah.
Thanks, Alex.
All right. So I think that covers the specific agenda items. We'll go back to issue triage next time, with any extra time that we have. So thanks everyone for joining today, and we'll see you at the next one in 2 weeks.
Thank you. Bye bye.
Bye bye.
Bye bye.
Thanks.